Hello and welcome to the fourth edition of Redleg Roundtable. I'm really thrilled today to be joined from out in Arizona, Adam Rosales, former Red. Adam, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, Adam, I really appreciate it. I wanted you to tell me just maybe a little bit about memories of the Reds, the organization, playing for the team, just that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, where do I start? I got drafted by the Cincinnati Reds. That first day that I got drafted was amazing to see that major league logo right next to my name, Adam Rosales, Cincinnati Reds, and just the people that I met there when I was a rookie in rookie ball in Billings, Montana. All the coaches I met, Rick Burleson was my manager there, and Freddie Benavides was the infield coordinator. I know he's the first base coach now, coach, I believe. But just people like that just embraced me and embraced the way I played the game, and it was kind of an easy transition from college into professional baseball. I just feel like I fit right in with the Reds' philosophy of playing the game.
Yeah, and we'll get through that a little bit. I was looking at your numbers and things like that. Very impressive, obviously, with the way you track through the system. Now, I talk to baseball guys all the time, and it's this idea of a lot of times the guys from the South or the West maybe had a leg up because of warm weather year round, that kind of thing. You were born on May 20th, 1983 in Chicago. So you didn't have that Southern climate, but you went to Maine Township High School in Park Ridge, Illinois. Is that like a suburb of Chicago?
Yeah, it's right by O'Hare Airport.
Okay, sure. And but then you attended Western Michigan University. What was your matriculation over to Western Michigan? What was that like, and how'd you end up there?
So I only had 3 offers to play Division I baseball: Eastern Illinois, Illinois State, and Western Michigan. It would have been easy just to stay in state, especially for my parents, with the tuition and everything, to stay in Illinois. But Coach Fred Decker, when I met him and the confidence that he had in me right away, I felt it. He was giving me the opportunity. It wasn't given to me, but he said that I could possibly be the starting shortstop as a freshman, where the other colleges were like, you're probably going to redshirt. I'm like, I just want to play. And Fred Decker just always had confidence in me, and the coaching that he gave me was unbelievable. So I decided to go to Western Michigan, and it was just an unbelievable 4 years of my life.
Well, that's awesome. So, and obviously that's is that Kalamazoo?
Yeah.
I guess, what did you think of the college town, the college experience? You feel like you had a typical college,
Yeah, pretty typical. The guys, those are like my brothers now. Like I call them up, I get to chat with them every now and then. But those are like my brothers, the best way I can explain it. Just those relationships that I built with those guys are everlasting.
Oh, absolutely. So you mentioned you were drafted by the Reds. That was the 12th round in the 2005 draft. What was draft day like? I know certainly today the top round guys might even be over in New Jersey at MLB Network and things like that. But you get picked in the 12th round. What was it like? How did you find out?
Oh my goodness, it was one of the most thrilling days of my life. It was June 7th, 2005. And my mom and my cousin Noah, they were watching the draft as it was, they were selecting players. And I'm like, guys, I'm not going the first day. You might just want to wait till tomorrow. And then they actually started screaming. I didn't even see it until they're like, oh my gosh, your name popped up, It was and I just went and I from that moment I went with my brother and my cousin. We went out to the ball field and started playing ball. I was just so geeked.
Oh yeah,
going to get to play some ball. But now, as a coach, I'm coaching in the Oakland A's organization now. I managed the last 3 years in rookie ball, so I get to see these draft guys come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I always look for the 12th round draft pick.
Yeah.
Just want to tell him he's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Just, give him some kind of confidence.
Yeah, and certainly 12th round, there's no guarantees, right? I mean,
Right.
your work kind of started probably that day. I mean, you said you went out to the field right away.
Right away.
But hey, man, it's only 3 years later you make your major league debut. Technically, August 9th, 2008. You get to play in your first game. What was that like?
Unbelievable. Well, Jerry Naring was the manager. My first big league, my first big league spring training
Okay.
experience.
Yeah.
So it was the year after I was playing at Western Michigan. I'm in the Reds dugout at Ed Smith Stadium, and the Yankees are out on the field.
Wow.
We're about to play the Yankees, and Jerry Naring called me over. He said, "Hey, last year you were in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and now you get to play against the New York Yankees. How do you feel?" So, and then obviously Derek Jeter, he was raised in Kalamazoo, and just that connection, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it's just amazing the journey that I got to go on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess let's talk a little bit about minor league life. How did it compare to college at Western Michigan? I don't know how the travel would have been different. What was it like?
I feel like I had. I feel like I had the advantage, to be honest with you, because a lot of these kids that come from really prestigious schools,
Hmm.
and Western Michigan is a great school, but we only have like 8 fans in the stands, and there's like only parents, and it's free sit outside. When guys coming from LSU, Arizona State, they have a student section,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they actually got some energy at the game. So when we actually had 1,000 fans in the stands in Billings, I was geeked. My hair was on fire. I was like, "This is great." But all these other guys like, "Oh my gosh, we gotta go to the minor league stuff." But I embraced it. I loved it. I mean, the fans, when they're in the stands are great, but just the game itself, I just always had such a deep respect for the game of baseball, and just getting to pro ball, like I said, I embraced it. I
Yeah.
loved every moment of it, no matter if we're eating at midnight at random Denny's in a random town. um, I just embraced every moment, and the reason why I did was because the guys that I was with, my teammates that I was with, just they're in the same boat I was in, and we just kind of helped each other out the best we could.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly, uh, positive mindset alone will probably help you. And you were kind of well known for being more upbeat, I guess, than maybe most guys, or that kind of thing.
Uh,
Let's talk about even go back to Billings. Who are some of the guys that you were in Billings with? Some names we'd recognize.
Well, I remember, Travis Wood, one of the pitchers, Johnny Cueto was
Yeah.
there, and then I later that season, Jay Bruce came, uh, Josh Renicky, a couple of these guys. I'm trying to think of other guys that I was there with, but those are the guys that stand out right away that made it to the major leagues at least.
When you talk about Jay Bruce, and maybe we'll chat a little more later about in the big leagues with him, but he was that guy, right? The top draft pick, all that stuff. What was it like to kind of see a guy that? I mean, did he stand out that way, right, when he got there? If you didn't know he was that high draft pick, would he have stood out in that way?
Well, not on the field. On the field, he did. Like off the
Yeah.
field, super humble,
Uh-huh.
very um, great guy with everybody. Great teammate. Have a ton of respect for Bruce. Um, on the field, the way the ball came off his bat, how fast he was running, how smooth he was, how strong his arm was, how his instincts in the game were,
Hmm.
blew everybody out of the water. It was really fun to watch how advanced he was.
Well, and even he was a high school kid, so you and some of your other teammates maybe had gone through at least a couple years of college, and here he was just fresh out of high school. So that I mean, I guess if you can see that, that's definitely awesome, and certainly we saw it as fans when he got to come up.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about your 2008. You played nearly a full season at Louisville. That's a AAA team, obviously. I am good friends with Matt Andrews. I don't know if you remember
Oh
that,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
the announcer.
Of
I went to
course.
college with him. He was in my wedding. And actually, I got down there a time or two. I was working with local media here in Columbus, Ohio, and I came down and interviewed Tom Shern because he was from Columbus and he made that run up where he got called up.
Yep.
Um, you led the team in at bats and hits that year. You had 124 hits in only 117 games. You led the team in doubles. You hit 287. You got on base. And I actually reached out to Matt Andrews and asked him a little bit about you, and he said you were a crowd favorite. And he also said that you helped kind of spur those 3 consecutive division titles at manager Rick Sweet. They called it the Sweet Three-peat. uh, Tell me a little bit about that season, if you remember
Oh,
much about it, and kind of
oh my gosh.
life in Louisville.
It was a magical season,
Yeah.
to say the least. That was the season that got me over the hump in my career because, I climbed up really quick in the Reds organization. A lot of player development helped me out. But in 2008, not many people know. I mean, if you look deeper into the stats, in June or in July, late in the season, I was hitting a buck 80 something, buck 90 something. And I think they were talking about sending me back to Double A.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. A lot of people don't know that. And that's what I would tell a lot of young kids. Like, you don't know how close you really are. But, I started doing more like the mental side of the game. I really started tapping into that. Gary Mack's book, Mind Gym. I started reading that again. But I really started focusing on the important things in baseball. I started understanding how important a routine is, not just a routine, but a working routine. And my hitting coach, Smokey Garrett, Adrian Garrett, I love that man so much. Just the way he was with me in the batting cage, the patience he had with me, the wisdom that he gave me, helped me understand what kind of player I could be. Another guy, Andy Green, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's I believe, still maybe he's not the bench coach for the Cubs anymore but he was the bench coach for the Cubs last couple of years. He was my teammate in Louisville, and I remember I was struggling. We're both competing for the same job. He pulls me aside and says, "You're better than this. You know you could play to a higher potential." And after we had that conversation, I started playing a lot better, just knowing that people were in my corner. I started believing that, started trusting that. I mean, I was just an inch away from my ultimate dream, and that was playing one game in the major leagues. That's all I wanted to do. But you're so close, but yet so far, and you got to make sure that you are super focused, not just every day, but every single pitch. And I was hyper focused on every single pitch, and I turned it around. Yeah, I remember that Rick Sweet and I still talk about the time we were in Toledo, and Toledo was up on us in the division, and we came back and won that game. I think it was a 3-run homer to tie it or give us the lead on a slider in Toledo, and it was kind of like a turning point of our season, I felt like, and it started that sweet three-peat. But that 2008 season, I can go on for days talking about how magical that truly was personally for me. But it was awesome to be a part of that. And obviously Rick Sweet, it was cool when he called me up to the major leagues. That was really well done by him and my teammates.
How did that happen? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I was in the batting cage by myself, just working, doing my daily routine. And I come back from the batting cage and there's nobody in the clubhouse. I'm like, what? This is kind of weird. Something's amiss here. And Rick Sweet comes out of nowhere. He starts yelling at me like, "You're late to practice. You're late to stretch again." I'm like, "Well, I'm never late to stretch." He's like, I'm sick of this. Pack your bags. You're going to Cincinnati." And then a couple of teammates jumped out of the lockers or jumped out behind walls and stuff, and it was pretty sweet the way he did it. It was really special, and just that's one moment in my life where time just stopped for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a Cincinnati Red in the major leagues. It's super special.
You were talking about how things can change even within the middle of a season. I was thinking about that the other day. I was listening to a few things on how much this current Reds team coming up with so many young guys. Like what's this guy going to do? What do we expect out of this guy? And certainly when the season's over, those numbers get stamped on the baseball card, and that's your numbers, right? But day to day, the important thing, especially I would think for a young player, would be to understand that I might be really down right now, but that doesn't mean I can't pull it back up. And what you just told me is a testimony to that. That's for sure.
There's no question. This game. It's all about momentum, right? And having confidence. If you can get that momentum, it's going to be like stopping a semi truck. It's gonna be really hard, or stopping a freight train.
Yeah.
Once you get that momentum in this game and you're confident and you're sure and you surround yourself with the right people and you trust your coaches, it's gonna be a game changer. You can do some special stuff when that happens.
Well, no doubt. Let's talk about a few of those guys. We already talked a little bit about Jay Bruce. He was on that '08 team with you in part. And then tell me a little bit about, you played with Drew Stubbs. He has certainly had a good career in the major leagues. What was he like? Was he as fast as
Um,
what we remember him as?
he was just like a deer running around and just smooth.
He
Everything he
looked
did was just
effortless. Yeah.
smooth. Yeah, effortless. And another great kid, another Texas kid, right? I came
Yeah.
from Texas.
University of Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, University of Texas. Just a fantastic kid, hard worker, focused, determined. These are the things I just remember about Drew Stubbs, and just had a solid relationship with him as well.
And then there's a subset of Reds fans who have a real soft spot in their hearts for Paul Yanish. He was
Oh
he
yeah,
was such a good defender at shortstop, and he was on that team with you as well.
yeah, Giannis. He was always ahead of me. He
Mm.
was the shortstop ahead of me, and the respect that we had for each other um, as we're going up to the system. And just, he just really talk about a great teammate, just the way he is with other people and how smart he was. Another Texas guy,
Yeah.
he went to Rice University, and just that's like the sixth tool. I feel like in baseball, you got the 5-tool player, but the sixth tool is the intelligence, the baseball IQ, the way you are with your teammates, the leadership. Talk about Paul Yanish and the leadership that he had at all times.
Mm.
Just a solid human being, and has a great family too.
Yeah, yeah. Chris Dickerson, even I remember he came up that year, the year after, and even then he's advocating for conservation and
Yeah.
not being wasteful and recycling and things like that. He even he's got to worry about being a big leaguer or staying in the big leagues, and yet he was sticking his neck out to try to go behind a cause he believed in.
Yeah, no, he does a great job. I know he's still doing that for the planet, and
Mm-hmm.
he's another good leader. These guys are, and that's the coolest thing about playing Major League Baseball, even playing minor league baseball, playing college ball. You learn these leadership skills and the qualities, these character traits that these young men have, and that they're determined to do great things with their lives. And you just want to surround yourself with people like that.
Would you say kind of experience and all that, even from your coaches, but also those fellow players that were leaders, does that kind of go into the mix to make you the coach you are today?
Oh, no question. Talk about a guy like Paul Yanish, how smart he was. I mean, there's many other teammates like him that I had that if I was just observing or if I had a conversation with, just the way they go about their business, the patience that they have,
Yeah.
the way they know how to listen and to implement what they learn. A lot of great leadership skills that you learn from players, and you just try to emulate what they kind of do and do your best to implement that.
You were also around Homer Bailey, and certainly at that time, I remember the meteoric rise he had up through the system. Um, that was kind of like a rock star status, wasn't it? Like he was, and the Reds certainly had gone through a time when they didn't have as many homegrown starting pitchers, so he was the lone guy at that point. Did you sense the pressure that was kind of on him and the things he was dealing with?
Well, he always was confident in himself. He always was sure of what he had to get done. And talk about a hard worker, determined, focused. No, he was great. Actually, he came to the A's. I think it was was it last year or 2 years ago? He came to, he was like a free agent, and he came to do like some. I think he pitched in AAA for the A's for a little bit. I might be wrong about that, but
Yeah, I don't
he was
have.
down in the ACL, rehabbing, or not rehabbing, but like getting ready to
Mhm.
condition his arm, and he was pitching for my team during the ACL season or the extended spring training season, and I'm his manager now, right? And his pitch count is up, so I walk out to the mound to get the ball from him because his pitch count's up, and I said, Homer, I never thought this would happen in my life, but I got to take you out of the game. So, it kind of just, he was really focused. I
Yeah.
don't know if he didn't think that was too funny, but he just, he does what he does. He takes baseball really seriously. And he was, I always respected that about Homer Bailey.
Well, and certainly he's the type of guy who, like I said, the expectations were so high. And maybe at first some fans didn't necessarily say, oh, he met these expectations, but eventually he did. It paid off in a big way.
Let's say,
And
didn't throw 2 no-hitters? How many?
yeah, he did. He threw 2 no hitters. He was part of that staff in 2012 and 13 that made all those starts. They were so reliable. Is the exact opposite. The Great American Ballpark with the short fences and things like that.
Right.
People always thought, well, you're never going to have good pitching here. And boy, if you look at the numbers, look at Baseball Reference in 2012 and 13, that staff with Bailey and Latos and
Mm-hmm.
Bronson Arroyo and Cueto and those guys. I mean, it was unbelievable. And
Yeah.
Mike Leake, um, and certainly, but just amazing the way they were able to come through. And he was right there with them through, like you said, the 2 no hitters, got the next contract and all that. You had guys like Aaron Harang, David Weathers, Kent Merker, David Ross, Jeff Keppinger. They all kind of came down maybe during injury rehabs or those kind of things. Can you tell me a little bit about being in AAA and having big leaguers come down? Like, what's that like? Do all the guys gather around and try to pick their brains and things like that? And I know, like, if you watch Bull Durham, they're all trying to find out from Crash Davis what it's like in this show.
Yeah, you do your best. Me, I was kind of like, I don't know, kind of let them do their thing, and that's
Yeah,
what kind of like they're down there, and just how respectful they are. I know I keep saying the word respect a lot, but I feel like that's a lot in the Cincinnati Reds organization. There's a lot of respect, but guys like that, you would come down and you would see them, and you would be like, oh my goodness, like, and they're just humans, They kind of like they encourage to give you some kind of encouragement that you're really close to get here, and then when you actually do get there, they embrace you like you've been there for 10 years already. Yeah, but there, I got to know Keppinger, got to learn from him. He was always like that, kind of like my role in a sense. Like he was more of an everyday player, but more like a
sure.
super utility type player. But yeah, just the way he played the game was fun to watch. I always respected that.
When you keep talking about respect and those kind of things and the way the organization was, we're talking about the doorstep there of winning the division 2 out of 3 years, 2010, 2012, and 2013. Well, they made the playoffs in 2013. So that was the seeds of coming up through and really creating that atmosphere of being a better team, wasn't it? So, like, I guess all this makes sense now when you boil it down and look at
Yeah.
what was happening in AAA back in 08.
Right, exactly. I think the whole system. My experience with player development and the Cincinnati Reds organization was, it was a perfect fit for me, for myself, and I appreciate it every day.
We mentioned you got caught up in 08 there. You told the story about how you got the news. What was it like then going on up to the big leagues and kind of, do you remember much about the day you played in the first game and all that?
Yeah, oh my goodness, how do I explain it? It's just kind of like out of body experience when you walk into that clubhouse. Just you could just smell the big leagues, like it just smell like just everything's just pristine, everything, and there's more people helping you now.
Right.
Like they have a lot of metrics nowadays, a lot of guys that do all the breakdown all the stats and everything. They had some guys that would do that, but it was not like it was before. But still, like resources like that
Mm-hmm.
were there for you. There's more trainers, there's more coaches that help you out. So that was kind of it's like it's luxurious to have that. It's like, how do you fail in the big leagues? You got everything you need, right? And then obviously like the travel. I don't know how the travel works, until I get there. You get off the bus, off the steps, and you walk right up the steps onto a plane, and there's food waiting for you on the plane. I'm like,
Right. Right.
where? Like, I can never go back to AAA now.
Yeah. I heard somebody the other day talking about how everything is better and everything is like, it makes it easier, I guess, until you step on the field and actually have to dig in
Yeah,
against somebody. I mean, Roy Oswald or whoever else at the time would have been pitching to you. Like, it's just like,
yeah.
oh my goodness. So tell me a little bit about the first at bat or the first game. What was that part
Yeah.
of it like?
It was with Texas. It was again not Texas. It was Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and a big righty Paulino, I believe his
Yeah.
name was. and it was a pinch hit. Dusty, talk about, I mean, Dusty, what a manager. I mean, love that man. But he put me in the pinch hit. Big righty Paulino from Houston throws me a first pitch that was like a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, and I crush it. Oh, I caught a lot of barrel. I shouldn't say I crushed it. I caught a lot of barrel, and it flew to right field, and the right fielder's going back, and I'm like, I think I got it. He jumps up and catches it at the wall.
Oh no!
And like me, so I love sprinting bases around the whole, sprinting around the bases on a home run, and I'm already like around second base at this time when the guy in right field catches it, and I come running off the field, and all the fans in the front row, a couple rows back, are all cheering for me just because they knew that was my first at bat, and the energy that I brought was pretty special.
Well, and I guess you've opened the door then. Certainly, you were known if you did catch one to go first to home faster than anybody. They would even time you. I remember, and Chris Welsh was one of the TV announcers. He'd talk about it. He'd have his little stopwatch going. What was that? What was that like? I mean, I guess you just felt like you had to run hard during every play, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I started doing it when I was a kid. That's when I was 12 years old. I hit my first home run over a fence. And the first home run I hit, I just kind of jogged around the bases, and it didn't feel right, So I'm like, from now on, instead of jogging, I'm going to sprint around the bases. And that was when I was 12 years old. I had like the intuition to say, you know what, that could have just barely clipped the fence. I could have been standing on first base. I should be on third base, Mm-hmm. So from that day forward, from when I was 12 years old and on, I made a promise to myself. If I got to play at a higher level, I would play the same way I did when I was 12 years old. So basically, it was a promise that I kept to myself, really, that I would play the same way as you see, hopefully, kids nowadays play, really, like they really love the game.
And let's be honest, you were playing in Cincinnati. So with Pete Rose's persona all around that stadium and the city itself, he grew up there, he played there. That was all. It's always like endearing from the fans to the player that runs hard, that tries hard, that does all that. Like, you were a crowd favorite immediately because of that.
Yeah, they made a joke a couple times. They called me Pete Rosales. Thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, they do appreciate that. I think fans really do appreciate that. They can see it, they sense it, they sense when somebody's got that pure love of the game, that passion for the game.
Absolutely. You spent a lot of 2009 on the big league roster in Cincinnati. And actually, Baseball Reference, if you go to the seasons, the player that plays the most of the position or something like that, that's where they list what they call starters or whatever. And you were the main third baseman on that list. And I know you came into the minor leagues as a college shortstop, but you mentioned being more of a utility player. What was it like to maybe find a little bit of a home there and play quite a bit of third base for a major league team?
Yeah, I think I remember that year Jeff Kippinger went to Houston at spring training, I believe. He got traded, and so they opened up a spot, kind of, but I still didn't make the team out of spring training. And then Edwin Encarnacion got hurt, and that left the door wide open for me. Dusty gave me the opportunity to play third base almost every day. So you got to take advantage of those opportunities. It started becoming more real to me too. That first rookie year, especially where I come from, is kind of like I said, out of body experience. There's times when I'm facing Kerry Wood. He was pitching for the Indians at the time. It was a big game between the Ohio
Battle of Ohio,
Battle of Ohio. Cincinnati and Cleveland are playing each other, and I'm facing Kerry Wood, who I just watched back in 2003 on my Western Michigan. They got that where they almost went to the World Series. I think it was the NLCS they were going to. Anyway, so facing Kerry Wood, that was like one of the times where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really here. I'm starting almost every day. Let's keep it going, kind of thing. It's like it's pretty amazing feeling trying to establish yourself in the major leagues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, later that season, a guy named Scott Rowland came over in a trade, so
That's right.
I guess he played a little more third base the rest of the year.
That's right.
certainly that was a big trend. I mean, I spoke last week with Scott Hatteberg, and we talked a little bit about the fact that Edwin Encarnacion became this amazing player, and he certainly, if you dig into his numbers with the Reds, he was so young, like in '06, so he's only 23, I think.
Right.
And yet, there, if you really dig into those numbers, you can see like almost the sprouting of what he actually eventually became. And
Right.
I wonder as a fan, hey, did they give up a little early on the guy? And certainly Scott Rowland was an important cog to those next couple of years, though.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. And Scott Rowland, Hall of Famer. I'm so happy for him.
Hmm.
And he was great with me too. A lot of guys, as I grew older, I noticed a lot of guys like to do their work on their own,
Yeah.
before the pregame stuff, like get their stuff done and then go to bed in practice, whatever. But he was always welcoming me to work with me. He always gave me great tips about playing third base.
Hmm.
And he was like, there's times where he was firm, and like, this is what you should expect as a third baseman. It's just a Hall of Fame moment, man. Like to get that kind of coaching from your own teammate.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just invaluable, right? Just to be in that presence and learning that much. So now I try to apply to my career, but now I can pass that down to these players I work with now.
Well, you always ran so hard yourself, as we've already talked about. But the thing in my mind of that, I remember in 2010 in the All Star game, Roland and Votto and Brandon Phillips were all there, and they had maybe even it was one of them was mic'd, and I think Phillips was mic'd in the dugout, and Roland goes first to third in an All Star game, and that was first to third. That's what we do in Cincinnati, And I mean,
Yeah.
how true was it that he just stepped in and kind of laid down the law, I guess, and set that example immediately?
There's such a presence about Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
Talk about his leadership skills and the way he communicates with his teammates, the way he communicates with his manager. He just does it the right way, And it starts, we talk about respecting the game. There's no other person I know that respects the game as much as Scott Rowland does, and it's just, it shows.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly amazing, amazing, and now that he's in, that's awesome. Now listen, you went on to play 11 years in the big leagues. Throughout time there, you played in 651 major league games. From 2016 to 2018, you played in over 100 games a year, which I would call that more super utility role than just utility. Um, can you reflect a little bit on over a decade of at least partially big league baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I got really good at being able to do that role. I feel like the older I got, I started understanding that this role is not easy to do. This is actually a pretty special niche.
Right.
And then I'm actually doing it. And the reason why I was able to do it, it's actually advice from Joey Votto that he gave me when I was actually playing. I was playing with the Reds, but we were playing here in Arizona at Chase Field. And I was struggling. And Votto came up to me and said, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I'm like, "Whatever you want, Joey." He said, "Can you be patient with yourself?" And I just took that, like, whenever you get like a nugget like that from your teammate, it can come from somebody else on the street and you won't take it the same way. But when it comes like that from your teammate, someone that's in the trenches with you, in the foxhole with you, you take that, you digest it, and you make sure you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So be patient with yourself. And I learned how to be more patient. I was reminded often through my career to be patient, and it always went back to Joey Votto telling me that. It always stuck true to my brain. I
Yeah.
need to be patient, and that's what helped me be a decent super utility player that I can be serviceable to a major league team. Is that I was patient to wait my turn. In Texas, you got Adrian Beltre at third base. You got Elvis Andrews at short, Ian Kinsler at second, Mitch Moreland at first.
Wow. Yeah.
I wasn't going to see the infield for maybe 2 weeks on end,
Right.
So talk about being patient and making sure you're working your tail off in batting practice or seeing live pitching, making sure you take that like a game. So when your time comes, you're ready to perform and you're ready to help a Major League Baseball team win a game
Yeah.
was what I got really good at doing because of teammates like Joey Votto really caring about me and letting me know like how I could be really good at baseball.
Well, you mentioned, being in Texas. Did you have a favorite stop after Cincinnati, or a memorable moment you'd like to share?
I mean, I have to go with the A's. I feel like that was such a big, pivotal part of my career when Billy Bean called me up and said, "We've been trying to get you for a long time."
Yeah.
And I had just read Moneyball a couple years ago, and
Sure.
now I'm part of it. Um, but that was pivotal. But the most memorable baseball moment of my life is playing in Dallas Braden's perfect game
Okay. Yeah.
in 2010 on Mother's Day.
Mhm.
It, the Mother's Day before, in 2009, I hit my first Major League home run off of Adam Wainwright, which should be my most memorable moment
Yeah.
of my life, right? It was on Mother's Day too. But the next Mother's Day, Dallas Braden throws that perfect game, and that just was unbelievable. And in Oakland at the Coliseum, it was pretty. It was really special, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Well, we spoke a little bit about, you brought up Joey Votto. I want to go down through a couple of your Reds teammates, if you don't mind. The story you just told about Votto, totally understandable now as we look back on his amazing career. But he would have had to tell you that, you're around the same age. He wasn't in the big leagues that long. He kind of shared that with you. Um, did he have that kind of presence though? Obviously, he was really cerebral. It feels like so. He probably had that kind of presence about him.
Yeah, like you said, really cerebral, intellectual. That six tool,
Hmm.
just knowing the game like a chess master, almost. Like just the art and science of the game. He had it down. He's got it down perfectly, and just that leadership, that kind of like that, like he didn't speak too much, but when he did, everybody would listen, kind of thing. You know, and for me, I just had a really good relationship with him. I just think he appreciated the way I played the game. He appreciated where I came from, uh, and he just kind of like I felt like he was looking out for me, in a sense. Like he really cared that I was his teammate.
Yeah. I guess we've already talked about some of these other guys when we were talking about AAA and things like that. What about Brandon Phillips? The athleticism at second base. A natural shortstop gets moved over to second. You had to appreciate that, I assume, given your growing up as a shortstop.
Yeah, and just the way his good energy that it brings to the field. He
Yeah.
just lights up a room. His big smile lights up a room. And just the way he plays the game, smooth with style. Like a lot more kids play like that nowadays, I feel like. But
Hmm.
I always try, like, not that I try to do that, but like you kind of like you watch a guy like that, you're like, dang, that's smooth. I wish I was more. Let me try to do that, and I try to do it. I'm like, man, I just made 3 errors in 2 games. I can't do
Yeah, like
that.
going between the legs, or but
Exactly.
sometimes he'd make those plays, and it wasn't because he could showboat and do it. It was because that's what called for in the moment. But
Yeah.
it's like he's got to be practicing just for that moment. Like,
There's no right. There's no question. And just the confidence. It's like what kids do on the playground. That he was just
right.
confident to do it in a Major League Baseball game when the game was on the line. Like
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I see my kid on the driveway basketball court. He'd go into behind the back. I'm like, you
right.
can't make that pass. Like, why do you keep doing that? And actually, he did make it in a game a few weeks ago. And I'm like, "Ah,
See?
all right, whatever."
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Hey, I guess I can't get off here without asking you. You've got this awesome wall behind you, and I
Yeah.
can see Pujols and Ricky Henderson
Yeah.
certainly.
Well, I got Votto
Oh,
up there
oh,
too.
there's Votto and yeah,
No
okay,
Trey. McGuire. Mark McGuire was my hitting coach, not hitting coach. He was the bench coach in San Diego. And you got
yeah,
Bruce. I got Bruce's New York jersey. I was in New York. We're playing against him in New York, and I just asked for his jersey, and he signed.
okay,
They all write like really special messages.
yeah.
And then I
Well,
got in the other room. I got Paul Goldschmidt, probably my favorite teammate of all time.
okay,
Derek Jeter, and then Sean Dunston, and yeah, my wife and I got to do this. We put together the office. It's really special. She's got all the tickets. We have this glass table that I got my laptop on right now that she collected all. She kept all of our tickets from all
wow,
the games that she was there to watch me play, and it comes out to be almost 600 tickets. So she got to enjoy a lot of baseball, and her and her family love baseball. So it's really cool. All the stuff that we have in here. It's really
Absolutely. What I guess, if you don't mind, just picking a few, especially like a guy like Ricky Henderson. You're involved with the athletics, but his career was kind of coming to an end as you went off to college. What's Ricky Henderson mean to you?
I love his story, the way he played the game. I always was drawn to him when I was a kid. Just Ricky Henderson, those neon
Yeah.
batting gloves, like it just little. I don't know. I
Mizzou?
thought it was cool, and I got to hang out with him a lot. Hang out like in the clubhouse. He would play cards with us, and just the confidence that he has is like, man, I wish I could just take a piece of that. And I don't know. He just loves the game. He was around us a lot, and I just asked him to sign a jersey. And a lot of the stuff that we have in the office, I forgot what I was collecting. I'm not a big collector at all. Like,
Okay.
I'm really not. I just kind of like there's moments where I was like, oh yeah, I probably should ask if I can have a jersey. And
Sure.
it just so happened that Ricky was one of them that I asked. But
What are the photos with the jerseys? Are those just you and
just
your
the
wife?
highlights of there. You can just see.
Yeah. Okay. So
Mark
like,
and I just we designed them and put them together, and just I don't know, we just thought it was pretty neat to do. And we got my
yeah.
jerseys, all the teams I played for over here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And my big one, the big one's the Cincinnati jersey. I have my first home run bat.
Okay.
Definitely not sure if you want a tour, but I can give you a tour.
No, go ahead. That's awesome.
Because this is the one we're really proud of. Like, this is like dusty. Let me see if I get a light right here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So we got the first home run bat, the first home run ball, first hit, and then all the cards that Dusty Baker saved for me, like my major league debut, and the first time I played at Wrigley Field. So
Yeah, my impression of Dusty, from the outside looking in, he's just so thoughtful. It seems like, and him saving those, like you maybe just came up, and certainly people understand how important debuts are and things like that. I get that, but he's got a lot going on, right? I mean, he's trying to manage a big league ball club, and yet
that's
he's
what
like, hey, I bet Rosie would. And first of all, that's the first person I ever heard call you Rosie. I know it's kind of your nickname, but he's like, hey, I want to save this for him. I mean, that had to mean a lot.
it's so special to me and to my family, and it reminds me to pay attention to detail
Mm-hmm.
for whoever I surround myself with in my life. I mean, I'm probably the worst at it, but like, it encouraged me to get better at really paying attention and listening to people, because Dusty was great at that. And
Sure.
yeah, like every time I bring somebody in, there's a family that comes visit us, or friends in the neighborhood that come and see this stuff, and I always talk about Dusty Baker.
Mm-hmm.
You can see his signature right on the card, and the little note he put exactly like what is it? My first hit or first. It's like a special, like a detailed note, like it was a 2-0 count. You got a base hit to center field, right? So it's like you said, he has a ton of stuff going on, but how much he really cares
Mm-hmm.
about his players is just really special to me.
Sure. Sure. Well, hey, I guess last thing I'll talk to you about, if you don't mind, what you're doing now. As you mentioned earlier, you've been kind of I guess, technically like the rookie league or the complex league manager for the A's organization for a couple years now. Tell me a little bit about that, and then kind of what's coming up this baseball season.
Yeah, so I got to be the manager for the rookie league for the last 3 years, and I loved it. It was probably one of the biggest challenges of my life. I think I'd rather be hitting a slider than managing, but it was a really good challenge for me to do that, and I appreciate Ed Sprague is the farm director for the Oakland A's right now.
Former Blue Jay, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And just for him sticking with me for those 3 years of letting me understand what it really takes to be a manager and to develop like that as a coach. So now I know like all the different ins and outs of what it really takes to be a manager at this level. I know it's completely different going up.
Sure.
With that said, now I'm going to be just like a bench coach, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing hitting, infield, base running, some outfield probably, which makes me more of like a utility coach, right?
Yeah.
that I can kind of cover everything, and I have that experience. But it is so I'll be down here because we're raising our kids here in Arizona, which is really special for me to have this gig as well with the Oakland A's. But it's really neat because we get to work with. Last year was 100% Latin American players that come from the academy in the Dominican Republic. And it is really neat to connect with them and to learn their culture, and they're young men that are just hungry to succeed. And it's just really neat to help them develop the best we can. Obviously there's a lot of challenges that come with that, but it's a very rewarding challenge, and just to work with the great staff that we have here with the Oakland A's is really special too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have aspirations on climbing that ladder too, or is your goal to kind of stick around in Arizona with your family, or how do you see the next few years?
Yeah, I do have ambitions to do that. That's why I like to read a lot of books about leadership. I like to read a lot of books about baseball, the mental side of the game. I like to study the different metrics of baseball because I do have that ambition to climb up and to be part of a World Series team. Mm-hmm. Like that was my number one goal. Like I said, my number one goal was to play one game at Wrigley Field in the major leagues, because I'm from Chicago. That was like my number one goal. But once I did that, I'm like, what's next? That was winning a World Series. I wanted to win a World Series so bad. That's what I took all my off seasons. I busted my tail or played winter ball because I was dedicated to win a World Series. But I didn't get to do that as a player. But I do have ambition to do that as a coach. To be a part of a World Series team would be really special for my family and for myself. But at the same time, to be transparent, is that my World Series right now, are my 9-year-old daughter, my 7-year-old son, and my wife. That's what I'm playing for right now for me personally. So that's where I'll be, God willing, that I get to stay here in Arizona, that there's opportunity that presents itself for me as a coach here. But this is where I want to be to raise my family and to see my children and my wife.
Well, absolutely. Hey, Adam Rosales, I want to say how much I appreciate you taking the time this morning. I really appreciate you. And certainly I just, that grind that you put yourself through day after day, year after year, you reap the benefits, like I said, over a decade in the major leagues, and just congratulations on a great career.
No, thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me on. It's great to chat with you.
All right. You have a great day, and thanks so much for tuning in, folks. Wait for the next time on Redleg Roundtable. Hey, thanks so much again, Adam. I really appreciate it.
You got it, man. Yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed doing it. I love reminiscing about the Reds, man. It's a fun time.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm a huge Reds fan. My grandfather gave me that passion, and I've been to every opening day since like '95. So I live in Columbus, so it's not like I'm down the street.
Cool.
So yeah, it's just a passion of mine. I have a really good memory too, and remembering you running around those bases, certainly, and especially since, like I said, I knew Matt, and I'd come down to Louisville sometimes and check what was going on down there out. So
yeah, make sure you tell Matt I said hello.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm not going to tell you, hey, give me somebody's number, but if you have any Reds teammates, and you want to share my information with them, that'd be great too.
Yeah.
We're building this thing up. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is great that you're doing it. I love. It's so good for the fans that you're doing this. I'm gonna write it down now to see if there's some Reds players like Giannis. Like you'd like to have Giannis.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
I could reach out. Yeah, I could definitely. Like Chris Heisey.
Yeah, actually, I emailed his hitting academy in Pennsylvania, but I haven't heard back yet.
I can reach out. Those are guys I stay in contact with. Yeah. Jay, I was staying in contact with him, but I haven't heard back. I know you got busy. I'm trying to think about who.
It was
Oh,
funny.
okay.
I tweeted at Joey Votto because I had Hattiesburg on, and I said, "Well, Joey, you took over for Hattiesburg at first base. Did you want to follow him on my podcast?"
Yeah,
I
that'd be
didn't get a
cool.
response.
That'd be cool to have Joey on.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it was funny. My son was born in 2010 during his MVP year, and we named my son Joey. And
Oh, cool, man.
and we went to he was in a rehab assignment there in Columbus with the Bats playing the Clippers, and my son got down on the dugout with his jersey, and Joey signed it for him. And
Oh, cool.
Joey said, "My son," he said, "Hey, I'm named after you." And Votto looked at him and he goes, "Really? Cool." Made my son's day. Just was
I'm
so thrilled
sure.
about it. But hey, man, again, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Seth, for sure. I'm
Um,
glad we get to connect.
all right, you have a great day and great time.